I'm pretty certain one of the first brand videos I did was for ORMS themselves. I did not get paid. I think I actually spent money to go make it happen, but I think just the excitement that someone found me because of some video on YouTube or something and reached out to me and said, hey, take this camera and go make a film with it. I was more than excited. And I guess maybe I didn't make any money from it, but I definitely learned a couple things along the way. And that's made a difference in my career for sure.
I don't know what's in store for this morning. First I'm going to put my pants on.
All right, my name is Bryn North. I'm a filmmaker. I spend my time running around with a camera and pressing buttons on a laptop. But we're here today in Cape Town. Unfortunately, we're not on a shoot, so we can't go behind the scenes, but we'll overlay some footage of some scenes from somewhere else in the world. So I guess a little bit about me. No, I did not study filmmaking at all. I went in the whole business route. During university, went into advertising. I used to fiddle around with the camera every now and then. So my mates and I had what we used to call Sunday Adventure Day, where we used to go out and just fiddle around with cameras, have a good time, choose a new location. But yeah, nothing serious. At the most, just maybe a photo or two for Instagram. But of course, like most people, we all ended up with a GoPro at some stage. And I used to enjoy mountain biking. So of course, I strapped my GoPro to myself, went mountain biking, got maybe a little bit too eager, broke my ankle, but now I was sitting there with all this footage and I couldn't walk, so I taught myself how to edit. And in doing that, I realized, hey, I actually kind of like this whole thing. And because of that, I reached out to people that I knew that were in that realm of filmmaking, sat in a few sessions with them, managed to lie through a few interviews to eventually get to the point where I'm like, hold on, I could actually be paid to play with a video camera. And this was at a perfect time where I was just finishing my postgraduate degree and I was like, I can take the risk to try something new. I took that risk and to be honest, it's just evolved over the years and I guess I haven't looked back. Doing what I do has allowed me to travel extensively. I've been to a fair amount of places around the world and I'm extremely grateful for that. And I also acknowledge the fact that the reason why I've been able to travel so much is purely because of the skill that I've acquired. People are hiring me to go to these places to take my camera. But in doing so, I've obviously changed as a person because I've now got to experience a whole bunch of different cultures. And I'm not going to lie, I think that's been the biggest takeaway out of everything I've done. Yes, I've got better and I've honed my craft as I've traveled around the world, but I think as a person, as Bryn, I've changed by far the most, and I'm extremely grateful for where my camera's taken me. Some of the places I've been, specifically those that are off the beaten track, are probably my favorite. I very rarely remember it because of being there as a filmmaker, but I think of myself sometimes just sitting down with locals, with people on the ground and, exploring as opposed to actually being there to do a job. So some of these places, whether it be in East Africa or in Southeast Asia, these places really make me feel like a new person. They honestly make me feel like I'm doing a job I truly appreciate. Yes, it's hard work. It's not always fun. But when I get back home and I think about it later, it's honestly been some of the best times of my life. My parents see the end result, my friends see the end result, and they think, you've got the best job in the world. And although I agree with them, they don't always get to see the tough side of it. Everything that goes wrong in the background, especially when traveling, whether it's your car breaking down, you're missing flights, your gear not working, the weather, all the uncontrollables essentially. But that does make it extremely fun. When I look back, I often think about the things that went wrong because that is what makes it different. That is what makes it special. And I'm not putting you off here, but it's definitely a downside to what we do. Sometimes I'm not always in the moment because I'm behind the camera and I don't always get to experience it fully. But I'm grateful that I get to capture these moments forever. And that that to me, I guess, is what makes it. There's a trade-off there. But when we do these experiences, just understand that there's a lot of work that goes in behind the scenes, and it is a lot of effort. But I promise you, if you push through that, it's gonna be worth it. So this filmmaking industry is pretty big, and I don't even know where I kind of fall in it, to be honest. There's those that are out there making feature films. Some are just pulling focus. Some are DOP, some are directors. There's people like me that try to do it all and run around on mountains. And there's those that create short form content on TikTok. We're all in the same industry. But there's one thing that I guess ties us all together, and it's the fact that to be successful, you gotta put in the graft. And I know it probably sounds so cliche, it's so boring. Just hear me out. It takes time, and you're not gonna be good on day one. It's the fact that we gotta sit there and we gotta practice, we gotta develop our skills. When you first learn your skills, you're gonna be hired to be a cameraman. But eventually down the line, you wanna be hired as Bryn North, not just as a cameraman, but your style that comes along with it, your name. And that's what I'm striving to do, is I want people to hire me for me, not necessarily just because I can hold a camera and point it at things. So put in that effort. I look back at my previous videos from a couple of years ago, and I honestly cringe. But at the time I thought, I am killing it. And I know in 5 years from now, when I look back at the videos I made last week, I'm gonna be like, oh my goodness, did I think I was a filmmaker? But it's the journey that I think we have to enjoy, because the goals are gonna constantly change. It never ends. So if you're enjoying this process, if you enjoy your day to day, whether it be just going out and filming or sitting behind the computer and doing the edit, then you're winning. Realistically, if this is something you enjoy, if you like to get out there, the barrier to entry is pretty slim these days. Getting yourself a camera doesn't cost that much. But if you can put in just a little bit of effort, use the internet. We have so many answers out there. You just need to go and ask the right questions. As soon as you start asking the right questions, you will find those answers, and put yourself in the situations that get you out there to capturing the content that you want to create. It does take a fair amount of time, let's be honest. It's the effort you have to put in. But if you're serious and really enjoy what you do and want to do this, I promise you, putting in the time and effort and practicing is all you need to do. Being the filmmaker I am, I like to keep things super simple. I want the smallest footprint when it comes to my gear. And maybe this is because I'm climbing up mountains like this, or I'm on a whole bunch of flights and I don't want to have to pay extra luggage. But the smaller the footprint, the easier it makes my life. And not just me, but the people that I'm filming as well. In a lot of cases, I'm filming people that aren't super comfortable with having a camera in their face. So if I rocked up with a huge rig, we've got boom poles hanging over lights, they might be a bit startled. And I really want to capture that raw, genuine, sort of experience with these people. So the smaller setup, the more honest approach I'm going to come in with, and I'll get the most out of my subject. In terms of lenses, I would say a 35mm is my favorite, purely for the fact that you can step back and get a pretty wide shot, but you can push and get super close to your subject, and there's enough compression there for it to feel somewhat cinematic. Now, if I only had one lens and I had no idea what the day entailed and I had to capture a whole bunch just by myself, 24-70, 2.8, no questions asked. If I've got the room in my backpack and I feel like lugging it with me, I'd probably always bring a 70-200, purely for the fact that it can really give a different perspective. And sometimes you can't actually get close to your subjects, whether it be in wildlife or you're just out in the streets. It just allows you to really stand back and compress everything as much as you can. But it's a heavy bugger. I very often have my gimbal hanging off my backpack. I think it's pretty important for what I do to be able to include those style of shots. And I think I've started to use it a little bit more for the fact that these days there's some pretty good autofocus on cameras. And now, I can whack the camera on, push in at 1.4 into my subject's face, and it just tracks perfectly and buttery smooth. I can't believe it's even possible as a one-man band these days. But the other thing that I'm always going to have lugging on the side is the drone. Yes, sometimes it feels unnecessary. It's big and weighty and I've got to carry this thing everywhere, charge up all the batteries ready for it. And realistically as well, probably only going to be about maybe 2 to 3% of my film is going to have drone shots in it. But super important to capture that variety, those establishes. So yes, a bit annoying at times, but incredibly important. Thanks for having a listen. Appreciate you guys tuning in. Yeah, if you've got any other questions and stuff, just come find me online. I'll do my best to answer whatever questions you have for me. But otherwise, yeah, take it easy and see you around.